Number 1.
一人一人順番に順番にこのバニラアイスの暗黒空間にばらまいてやる
Vanilla Ice, Stand, Cream. When the main group was split up thanks to Darby the player, Polnareff, Abdul, and Iggy were left to deal with the last villain inside Dio's mansion, Vanilla Ice. So, what makes him stand out from all the previous villains on this list? Well, out of all the villains in Stardust Crusaders, he's the most loyal to his master. When it comes to Dio, Vanilla Ice is fanatical and single-minded, willing to do anything for him. Once Dio told him that he needed one more person's blood to be fully adapted to Jonathan's body and heal his neck wound. Dio then asked him if he would surrender his blood to help him, and how does Vanilla Ice answer this? He uses his own stand to sever his head off and fill an urn with his own blood for his master to drink. And he did this without any hesitation, no questions asked. Oh, and by the way, this was his official debut in Part 3. Jeez, talk about extreme. Anyway, while Undul was willing to kill himself to protect Dio's secrets, he was afraid to be casted aside and be killed by him. Vanilla Ice, on the other hand, was willing to kill himself if Dio asked him to. Hell, it wouldn't be surprising if he'd be okay if Dio killed him if it'll benefit his master. However, his suicide was merely a test of loyalty to prove his worth, and he passed with flying colors. Dio refused to take the blood of someone who was such a devoted servant to him, so as a reward, he revives Vanilla Ice using his own blood. He also seems to be absent-minded at times, using his stand to go through walls, instead of simply using the door. Aside from that, his unwavering loyalty has also greatly affected his personality in many ways. Vanilla Ice at the beginning appears to be a calm, reasoning, and collected man. However, if Dio is disrespected in any way, shape, or form, he's consumed with immense rage, pulling a complete 180 on his personality. During the fight, Iggy used the Fool to create a sand copy of Dio to trick Vanilla Ice. Alas, he wasn't fooled, as he quickly destroyed it. Even though it was merely a replica of Dio, the fact that Vanilla Ice had to attack an image of his master was enough to get him really angry. So much so that he favored kicking Iggy to the point of near death, because he wanted to vent his rage and he wanted Iggy to suffer, wanting to give him a more painful, slower death instead of an instant one from Cream. This moment shows that Vanilla Ice has this huge obsession with Dio, and isn't mentally sound when it comes to him. In fact, this is not only one of Vanilla Ice's most recognized scenes, but the fact that he's brutally beating Iggy is also the most despicable and unsettling in his arc. And yet, I can't help but be curious about his character and want to know more. Vanilla Ice had this great devotion to Dio that really affected him mentally at times, which makes me wonder what caused him to be like this. What made Vanilla Ice greatly admire Dio? What did Dio do to him? Because, for all we know, Vanilla Ice might have worshipped him like he was a god, so what drove Vanilla Ice to his current state of mind? Unfortunately, those questions may never get answered, as we don't get a lot of backstory with most of the villains in Stardust Crusaders, and sadly, Vanilla Ice is one of them. Anyway, his mindset was best described by Polnareff as he said, "His mind itself is the dimension of darkness. His mind is the black abyss that rips everything apart." Which is why his stand Cream is suitable for someone like Vanilla Ice. Cream is another powerful stand, a skull-faced humanoid creature which may possibly be another stand that's capable of going against the world. Aside from being strong enough to sever body parts, Cream can devour itself and its user to become a void, an invisible moving sphere that consumes anything it touches. Only Vanilla Ice and his stand aren't affected by the void, so no attacks will work against Cream since it's untouchable in this form. Cream is also the first stand introduced that can access an alternate dimension, which is a dimension of darkness. When entering the dimension, Cream can erase its existence from the physical world, which is why Vanilla Ice wasn't detected by Abdul's Magician's Red. With those abilities alone, it makes me believe that Cream is another stand that's strong enough to fight against the world. Dio once said that Cream can completely disappear from this world. Plus, Dio's stand is called the world and it can stop time. But I believe the time stop only works in the physical world that Dio exists in. Vanilla Ice can enter its dimension to leave the physical world, erasing its existence, thus not being affected by the world. Well, it's just a theory that I have, but if that's the case, then it's a good thing that Dio recruited him. However, despite how strong Cream is, it does have a weakness. When becoming a void, neither the Stand nor Vanilla Ice can see, so they have to attack blindly in the physical world. On several occasions, Vanilla Ice will partially appear to view his surroundings in order to see if his attack successfully worked. Plus, even though Cream is invisible, Polnareff found a solution to track its movements by using Silver Chariot to spread Iggy's sand around the area. Then, when Vanilla Ice exposes his face, it was a big enough target for Silver Chariot to attack him. Unfortunately for Polnareff, his enemy was not easy to kill, and that was all thanks to Dio. I mentioned earlier that Vanilla Ice was revived by Dio with his blood. Well, that caused him to become a vampire. That makes him the only other vampire stand user aside from Dio to appear in Part 3. However, the transformation process was slow, which was why he was still able to stay in a room filled with sunlight. But his transformation was completed when he was skewered in the mouth by Silver Chariot's sword. Vanilla Ice gained the basic abilities of a vampire, so nothing unique from his vampirism, but he was immortal, making him very difficult to kill off. So thanks to his stand and his newfound vampire abilities, Vanilla Ice became one of the most difficult villains that Polnareff had faced in battle. But there's still one more thing that I've yet to mention. It's another reason why he's number 1. Vanilla Ice is another villain that has a kill count in this series. However, unlike the Darby brothers, his kills are actually permanent. Vanilla Ice managed to kill off 2 of the main supporting characters with no way for them to come back. And they are Mohammed Avdol and Iggy. Avdol was the first victim as he sacrificed himself punching Polnareff and Iggy away from Vanilla Ice, leaving only himself to get consumed by the void and sent into the dimension of darkness, leaving no physical trace of Avdol whatsoever. What's worse was that before they went inside the mansion, the 3 promised to not help each other out if one of them was either defeated or separated. They freaking bro-shaked and promised to get dinner when this was all over. Yet Avdol broke his promise to save his friends. Oh, and it gets even sadder later on. Iggy was the second victim due to his injuries he sustained from Vanilla Ice and from overexerting himself after saving Polnareff. He would have been the third victim as he was trapped in a spiral movement with no way of escaping due to his own injuries. It seemed like he was done for, but Iggy saved him by using the Fool. Even though Polnareff told him to escape and warn the others, even though he was told not to save his ally, Iggy did it anyway. The dog had a lot of pride, and it drove him to save Polnareff at the cost of his life. Now, previous fights before this one had very few repercussions aside from a few innocent civilians dying and Avdol's first death, but aside from those, everyone from the main group would be okay. The fight against Vanilla Ice, on the other hand, not everyone makes it out alive. Even Polnareff didn't make it out of this one unharmed. It was one of the toughest battles he had in the series as he suffered many serious injuries. He lost a part of his foot so he wouldn't be able to run away, lost 2 of his fingers from his left hand when it was drawn into Cream's mouth. Vanilla Ice then attacks his right arm, most likely breaking it in the process, and then he loses a chunk of his leg. Polnareff in the past had suffered many injuries. His most serious ones were from his fights against Debo, J-Guile, and Cameo, but he'd always come up with a way to turn things around to win. With Vanilla Ice, he was almost killed. There was a sense of hopelessness when Polnareff had no way of escaping from Cream. He would have been consumed if it wasn't for Iggy, but even though Vanilla Ice was strong and accomplished a lot, he still lost. Polnareff finally figured out that Vanilla Ice became a vampire and used Silver Chariot to slice a nearby door and curtain to let the sunlight in the room, causing the vampire to lose his arm. He provokes Vanilla Ice to attack him, even insulting Dio in the process, which angers the vampire, causing him to walk into the sunlight, losing his leg. Yeah, when Vanilla Ice is consumed by rage, he doesn't think straight, which led to him being crippled. With a slight nudge, Vanilla Ice falls into the sunlight, instantly vaporized. His defeat may have been satisfying and well-deserved. Polnareff's victory wasn't a happy one. His survival was all thanks to Avdol and Iggy. Their lives were lost during that battle, and they'll never come back. But Polnareff avenged them by killing Vanilla Ice. Their souls can move on to the afterlife. They can now rest in peace.
Fuck you, Vanilla Ice! I hope you rot in hell!
Sorry about that. I had to get that out of my system. Anyway, as he can be easily despised by many fans from what he's done, you can't deny that he was a very effective villain, accomplishing the most out of all the rest. Not to mention, his fight was definitely one of the best and toughest fights that occurred in Part 3. He's the one who showed the most loyalty to Dio, and the only one who actually managed to kill off some of the protagonists with his destructive, powerful stand, Cream. Thanks to him, there were 2 less people that Dio had to concern himself with the main group. Whether he'd be known as the Miasma of the Void or the Spirit of Emptiness, Vanilla Ice stands at the top as the #1 villain of Stardust Crusaders. And with that, the top 10 villains of Stardust Crusaders has come to a close. Thank you all so much for watching and sticking by with this, even though it's my first time making a top 10 list and it took over a year to finish, but thank you nonetheless. If you have any thoughts and opinions on my top 10 list, if you disagree with something, or if you believe that someone else should have been included, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Feedback will be greatly appreciated. So with that being said, I'm Lunar Spiral 1127, and until the next bizarre adventure, take care, and I'll see you guys next time.